2020. I call the meeting of the Board of License Commissioners to order. On a roll call, please.
Russ Forsberg here.
Mary Beth McGrath here.
Chief,
Mark DuBois here.
and I'm James Casey. Deborah Starr, Assistant Town Coordinator, is in on this meeting. Fire Chief, Chief O'Brien, will not be with us this afternoon. First order of business is the approval of the regular session meeting for October 13, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, Russ Forsberg makes a motion that we approve the regular session meeting minutes for the Board of License Commissioners for October 13, 2020 as prepared.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Russ
Aye.
Forsberg, aye.
Mary Beth McGrath, aye.
Mark DuBois, aye.
James Casey, aye. Motion carries 4-0. First item on the agenda, change of manager, item 2010-032, TGI Fridays Inc. petitioning for a change of manager to Thomas J. Wright Jr. What we have here in our packet are the retail alcohol beverages license application and monetary transmittal form. We have their amendment for the change of manager, corporate vote. We have the query request form in which the query request came back successfully. We have documentation that Mr. Wright is a United States citizen via his passport. We have a serve safe alcohol certificate for Mr. Wright, a town affidavit, and we have the payment receipt to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission with their filing fee. With that, is there any members of the commission have any comments? Who's representing TJFs?
Hi, this is Al Dapley. Hello, Ms. McGrath, Mr. Forsberg, Chief, Mr. Casey. I think Mr. Wright should be on. I think he's probably identified as the panelist, we might guess. I spoke to him earlier. He was going to join us today. Mr. Wright has been with TGI Fridays for 17 years. I know that we had Barbara Gresmer as the manager, and it was approved the last time. Barbara has left, and I sent a letter to the town as required, notifying them, and we have Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright has been appointed as a manager of record for at least 3 other times during his 17 years of working at different TGI Fridays. He's very familiar with the Braintree location and the concerns that the board has had over the years about Braintree, and we have underscored them with Mr. Wright. I believe he's here, but I haven't heard from him.
Yes, Al, I'm here.
Okay, so here's the panelist. So, so we're presenting this for appointment of Mr. Wright as manager of record. Thank you, Mr. Casey.
Okay, thank you. We have some comments from different board members. It states here that the building department or the health department, they're looking for their serve safe certificate, but I see that has been included with his documentation. So we satisfy that request from one of the departments.
Jim, that's the serve safe for alcohol. We need the serve safe for food.
Oh, that's not the same one then, huh?
No, it's a different one.
So, Mr. Wright, we need to get you need to provide us with the serve safe for food documentation.
Okay, I sent my certificate over, but I can resend it if you'd like.
I can double
sent
check.
I sent
Okay.
it via email.
Okay, I can double check.
Great. And the other one is we have a comment from the licensed representative here for the police department. They have no objection to the change of manager. However, he wants to make you, the new manager, aware that the Braintree Police Department has had 26 calls for service and numerous liquor violations in the past. He wants to make sure that you're aware that the past management has done a poor job in the past few years, handling and monitoring the bar area. And you need to be more vigilant and watch the parties who may be intoxicated. This location is off the highway and right across the street from the South Shore. So it seems to be a place that is frequented by people looking to find a place to have some food and a cocktail. But they are concerned with the past history of that account. So you're going to be fully aware of that situation. And we're not going to have to be coming down and looking at the site in the future. And that goes-
Absolutely.
Okay, then that's good. Good to know. With that, is there any other comments from members of the commission? Hearing none, is there any comment from the general public? Seeing none, a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, Russ Forsberg makes a motion to approve the request of TGI Fridays Incorporated for a change of manager to Thomas J. Wright Jr.
Mary Beth McGrath, second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any last minute comments? Hearing none, on a roll call, please.
Russ Forsberg, aye.
Mary Beth McGrath, aye.
Mark DuBois, aye.
And James Casey, aye. Motion carries 4-0. The next step, I'll file the Form 43 with the ABC Commission. I was at a Zoom meeting this morning with them, and they're telling it's about a 3 to 4 week time period before everything gets approved. And once we get that, we will send out the new license agreement showing the change of manager. And as a reminder, could you just be sure that we mailed out your 2021 renewal applications that you have until the end of this month to submit those back to us so we can get those approved the start of hopefully a much better year. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you so
thanks
much.
for joining in with us today. Best of luck.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye
bye-bye.
now.
Next item on the agenda, common vicular license, item 2010034, Montreal Shawama, petition for a common vicular license, and it's to be exercised at 250 Granite Street, which happens to be the South Shore Plaza. We have their application documentation here. They have a business certificate for operation with the town. And we also have their workman's comp certification, here with us, and they're in good order at this particular time. Is there anybody representing this business present?
Yeah, it's like they wanna, maybe join the team, sir.
Is anybody there? Okay, guess not. So all the documentation seems to be in order. So in that case, a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, Russ Forsberg makes a motion to approve the request of Montreal Shawama for a issuance of a common victuals license to be exercised at 250 Granite Street, South Shore Plaza.
Second, Mary Beth McGrath.
We have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor on a roll call, please?
Russ Forsberg, aye.
Mary Beth McGrath, aye.
Mark DuBois, aye.
And James Casey, aye. Motion carries 4-0. Certification will be mailed out to the petitioner by the end of the week. Okay, last item on the agenda will be the a hearing of revocation of the license to item number 2011035, discussion of the revocation of an all alcoholic beverage and common vicular license for Crown Pizza and Grill doing business as Crown Pizza and Grill, 2 Elm Street. What I'm going to do at this point in time, kind of give a little review of the facts on this case here and how they've been submitted. The first thing I'm going to read is a letter into the records that we sent out to Mr. Sylvia, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, regarding this hearing. It was dated November 10th, 2020. Dear Mr. Sylvia, it has come to the board's attention that Crown Pizza and Grill was the subject of an audit, subject of an involuntary dissolution by the Secretary of the Commonwealth on June 28, 2019, and as a result, can no longer maintain a common vicular or all alcohol beverage license to operate the establishment located at 2 Elm Street, Braintree, Mass. Please be advised that a failure to reinstate the corporation status to active may result in a revocation of the existing licenses or denial of any pending renewal applications. Additionally, the board has received complaints regarding the establishment and specifically noise issues during late hours of operation. Finally, a question has been raised regarding the establishment's 2020 document filing as they relate to the all alcohol beverages and common vehicular board licenses. The Board of License Commission will be holding a license hearing concerning these matters on Tuesday, November 17, 2020 via Zoom. We ask that you come prepared and address any of the issue identified herein. So, Mr. Vargas, I see that you're online. Obviously, you have received this letter. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Okay, next step, what I'm going to do is, for the record, I'm going to note the following communications that relate to today's hearing that were either received or delivered to me in some way, shape, and form. I'm not going to go into the full text of each of these emails. It's essentially going to be the date, time, and the caption of the subject matter. Number one, the first email dated November 2nd, 2020 at 11:19 a.m. I was copied on an email sent by Ms. Jean Lapham, alleging Crown Pizza at 2 Elm Street is operating illegally. Another email number two, dated November 22nd, 2020 at 5:36 p.m. that I was copied on was sent by Kimberly Duffy, alleging that noise and nuisances at this business has been creating for many years is extremely unsettling. And email number three, dated November 3rd, 2020 at 8:37 a.m. from Councilor Sasha to the clerk of the council regarding residents' complaints living near Crown Plaza of late night noise and traffic and information for late night operations and any related minutes of the license review of the book from the board. Email number four, dated November 4th at 10:37 a.m. from the clerk of the council to the chief of staff requesting assistance to address Councilor Sashi's email. Again, dated November 4th at 11 a.m. from the chief of staff to myself, request the minutes of the meetings that of the licensed premises that allow the opening of hours from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. On email number six, dated November 4th, 2020 at 6:43 p.m., I submitted to Ms. Lapham and Ms. Duffy with attachments of the license commissioners meeting beginning June 2016, when the request for extended hours were placed on the licensing commission agenda for consideration. Email number seven, dated November 4th, 2020 at 12:53 from the town clerk to the police chief requesting police incident reports for the Crown Pizza at 2 Elm Street. Email dated November 6th at 9:53 a.m. from the police chief, providing me with a copy of all of those incidents reports, and there were a number of them. An email dated November 6th, 2020 at 9:53 a.m. from Councilor Sashi to the town clerk regarding meeting minutes sent on November 4th. I also sent him a copy of the meeting minutes to keep him informed because he was interested into this case where that is within his district. Email dated November 8th at 6:45 p.m. from Councilor Sashi to the town clerk regarding residents' point on corporation being dissolved. Email dated November 9th at 12:13 p.m. from Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey to the town clerk regarding email from Ms. Lapham to himself and to Attorney General Healy concerning illegally operating business entity. Email dated November 13th at 12:01 p.m. from the town clerk to Ms. Lapham and Ms. Duffy regarding today's hearing. November 14th at 5:16 a.m. from Kimberly Duffy to the town clerk regarding delivery truck in the parking lot. Email dated November 16th at 8:08 a.m. from the town clerk to the owner of the Crown Pizza regarding the new complaint. And my last email, that would be email number 15, dated November 16, 2020 at 8:17 a.m., 8:45 a.m., and at 10 a.m. regarding follow-up on the new complaint and documentation on corporate renewal and certificate of good standing. And that email was received by Mr. De Silvia. The emails I listed for the records provides an overview of the communications on the subject matter, specifically the alleged operation of the subject business and noise nuisances this business has been creating for many years. There are two issues with the foundation of this hearing and should be the main focus of our discussion this afternoon. The inability to have in-person hearings due to COVID restriction places many challenges for the general public, those filing the complaint, the business owner, and members of this commission. To facilitate this meeting, and that will be fair and equitable to all parties, the following hearing guidelines will be in place. The parties filing the complaints, Mr. Lapham and Ms. Duffy. Individually together, they will have up to 10 minutes to describe the nature of their complaint and the remedies they are seeking. Our business owner, Mr. De Silvia, he will have up to 10 minutes to respond to these complaints. Again, the parties filing the complaints, Mr. Lapham and Ms. Duffy, individually together, they will have 5 minutes to respond to the business owner's remarks. If there are any elected officials present, an elected official who wishes to speak, they will be provided with up to 5 minutes of time to make their comments known. Then for the general public, they are asked to submit their questions by email to townclerk@braintreema.gov. That is TOWNCLERK@braintreema.gov. I ask that all questions be of new information, that is information that has not already has been discussed. If time permits, I will address the questions at this meeting. If time does not permit, I will address the questions later in an email or a letter to the individuals. So make sure you clearly list out your name and address so I can get back to you. And lastly, members of the License Commissioner, they will be allowed to comment at any time during the discussion, but I ask that they raise their hand to be recognized before they speak. Are we all comfortable with these guidelines? It should make for a smooth meeting agenda. So with that, the first item is Ms. Lapham or Ms. Duffy present on this meeting. Steve Leary. Okay, I'm waiting. I do not see Ms. Lapham or Ms. Leary, Ms. Lapham or Ms. Duffy present at this meeting.
Mr. Clerk, if I may, you do have a couple people that are joining the meeting as attendees. It looks like somebody is raising their hand. If Steve could facilitate making them panelists for purposes of this hearing so that they may join and speak as set forth in the guidelines.
Okay, Deb, can you get a hold of Steve to see him to get him involved in this?
I'll do the same thing.
Okay. Just bear with us 1 second. I see that there's a hand raised for someone who identified themselves as had enough.
Steve is taking care of that right now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
if the person who identified them had enough, okay, you have the mic now. Could you please identify yourself for the record?
My name is Kimberly Duffy.
Okay, did you hear the meeting guidelines?
I did.
Okay, so you and Ms. Lappman will have 10 minutes to outline the reason why you claim that there's noise complaints and about the illegal operation of their business.
Yes, thank you very much for your time and being allowed to participate in this meeting. Initially, my main concern was the amount of noise that is dead silent from the hours of 6 p.m. till roughly 11 p.m. After those hours, from 11 p.m. till 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, this parking lot is inundated with cars on a regular basis. I have no problem whatsoever with Crown Pizza. I was completely unaware until Ms. Lapham had given the neighbors the packet letting us know that the town had been dissolved, this business had been dissolved by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on June 28th, 2019. So from June 28th, 2019 to present date, there has been numerous calls made to the police, again, in reference to what Mr. Casey had outed, that there was numerous calls. The noise level at 4 a.m., at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m., we're in a residential neighborhood. I don't understand how a 4 a.m. license was ever granted to begin with. And, you know, there are 11 other pizza businesses that I believe are on this Zoom meeting as well. All of them have not been able to operate past 11 p.m. solely on the weekends. Again, this started as a noise complaint, but to find out that this business was dissolved for over a year and a half is something I can't comprehend how it got to be this far. In regards to the initial documentation for December, I believe, 2016, it was supposed to be a temporary license on a trial basis to 4 a.m. and it would be reviewed. I have poured over every minute from 2017, 18, and 19. Such review never took place from what I can see. Again, if this businessman wants to do the right thing and get his business in the shape that it needs to be in, all for it, support him. But for it not to have done so for a year and a half with the amount of complaints on noise solely, and we have addressed it. Numerous phone calls have been made to the manager, I believe his name is Perry. He actually threatened to burn down one of my neighbor's houses because she called the police. I mean, we're trying to work with the business, but to have the manager say to my neighbor that you're going to burn down their house, I mean, that is extremely alarming to me. I have nothing further to say other than I do hope that, I believe his name is Vargas. I'm sorry if I don't know if that's his last name or first name, but you know, all for him doing his business. But I believe that it needs to operate at the hours of every other business, no later than 11 p.m. This is not Times Square. This is South Braintree Square, and there is a big difference. And Ms. Lapham was unavailable. She is listening on her phone, but she is at work. She did ask me to speak in regards to this. She too is completely mind blown that this business has been able to operate illegally for over a year and a half and would like to understand how that happened. But again, if this business wants to be a productive member of our neighborhood and recognize that his neighbors are sleeping in the hours of midnight to 4 a.m., then so be it. But personally, I do not believe that this license to operate at that hour should continue anymore. For 5 years, we've been dealing with this, and it's just enough. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to address two questions that you brought up. One is the expired license from the Secretary of State's office. The ABCC were contacted once we became aware that their state license to operate business in the Commonwealth had expired. And we were informed that that is not uncommon for these type of businesses. It's a 4-year license, and sometimes as you're conducting business, that these things go updated, and unlike many things, they do not get notification that their 4-year license has expired. What they did tell us, the ABCC, was that it's an issue that is common, and then it can be rectified relatively quickly. Mr. Sylvia was contacted and about this license and the status of its condition. On Monday morning, he submitted to me copies of payment of all of the licenses with the state, as well as provided me with a copy of his certificate of good standing. Therefore, as of Monday, he now is back with the correct licensing, and he has corrected that issue that was brought out regarding his state licensing. It's something that other business in Braintree or other businesses throughout the state may have same issues. As they come up, we will address them in the same manner as we done with the Crown Pizza establishment. It's something that we are not privy to when they expire. Again, we have other licenses that we do keep track of when they expire, and we make sure the businesses are updated on the ones we issue. But we cannot speak for the state when they issue their licenses and how they interact with them. Relative to the complaints, as I stated in my opening remarks, I contacted Chief DuBois and asked them for a copy of all police incident reports dating from July 1 of 2016 to the current date, which was November 4th of 2020. In that time frame, in that little over 3 years, 3.5 years, there were a total of 31 complaints. And of those complaints, only 2 were considered noise complaints. And those were the ones most recently filed. They were dated October 12th, both of them of that, and they were both filed by you, Ms. Duffy. Prior to that time, we had no record of any noise complaints relative to this business at that time. During the extended license period of 1 a.m. till 4, there were a total of 4 police incident reports that were identified. One was on April 7th, 2017. It was suspicious activity. It turned out there was a vehicle in the parking lot, and that vehicle happened to be one of the owners, operators or workers of the business. And it wasn't an issue that had concern with that. Another one, again, was suspicious activity. It was on August 9th. And that one there was a gentleman sitting in the parking lot. He was waiting to go. He explained to the police officer that he was waiting to go into work. And he was there. He was left his house early, and he didn't want to head into Boston at that time. So that's where he laid over at that point in time. On July 30th, 2018, during the 1 to 4 o'clock time frame, there was an alarm. It turned out to be the door alarm of the business Crown Pizza that went off, and that alarm was reset, and the police didn't find any problem with the business, that no one was breaking in. And the last one was on December 29th, a suspicious motor vehicle. There was a vehicle that was in the parking lot that had a flat tire, and the police officer rendered assistance by calling a tow truck driver to have the car fixed. During the other time activities, the majority of police incidents occurred from 10 o'clock in the morning up until midnight with police incident report. These incident reports are based on the address of the establishment. Their address happens to be 2 Elm Street. On July 1st of 2016, there was a well-being check. Someone was found in the vehicle there, and someone identified them, and they were rendered assistance. On July 25th of 2016, a police incident report was filed. There was an accident outside the building. It had nothing to do with the Crown Pizza. And on September 27th on 2016, there was a motor vehicle violation. Again, that was on the street, that was out on Elm Street. It happened to be in front of 2 Elm Street, and it's identifying mark on the police incident report when a violation, when an incident occurred. It had nothing to do with the Crown Pizza. As I go through all of these things here, there's nothing of common. Most of them been regarding accidents or hit and run accidents, a disabled motor vehicle calls, accidents, ambulance calls. But again, they had no direct correlation to the existing business there. There was one in 2019 on December 4th, as we do each year when we renew the liquor licenses for all our licensed establishments. There was a compliance inspection done on that date. Crown Pizza was cited for not having the signage up that says that you have to be 21 years of age to purchase alcohol beverages. They were reminded of that. The signage was put up. However, on that inspection on December 4th, there was another one that the remarks were from the inspection officer that there was 2 years in a row during the inspection that it was found not to have that sign. I'm expecting that when the officer visits that place in this upcoming week, that sign is clearly visible because that is one of the key elements within your license agreement, that you have all signage put up in place. So in looking at all of the incident reports relative to noise, there was nothing in here that signifies that there were noise complaints other than the 2 that was filed by you, Ms. Duffy, on October 12th. And each of those complaints, a responding officer was on the scene about a minute or so after the call came in when they were dispatched. And they did not find any vehicles in the parking lot, nor any loud music was playing. Again, in your second complaint that same evening, 30 minutes later from the first one, the police officer responded again within a 1 minute time frame. In that complaint, you noted that there were 4 to 5 vehicles in the parking lot playing loud music. When the officer arrived, he found 1 vehicle in the parking lot, and that happened to be one of the delivery vehicles that is pulling up to looking for a delivery order. So again, though the noise complaints, I fully understand what you're saying. I live on a main street. I live off of Quincy Ave, and I hear loud vehicle noises all the time, accidents out in front all the time too. They don't relate to me, but they do relate to something going on, and it is disrupted as you're trying to get your sleep during the middle of the night. It's no excuse if there is something going on between the business owner and yourself regarding that phone call. I hope Mr. De Silva will address that as I turn the meeting over him to address your remarks. But before I ask Mr. De Silva to turn on his mic, I want to ask if there's any members of the commission have anything they'd like to say at this point in time. Seeing none, Mr. De Silva, please turn on your mic, and you have up to 10 minutes to respond.
Good afternoon, board members. Ms. Duffy, first of all, I'd like to greatly apologize. As I've stated before, my intention is not to keep you up 1 second at nighttime with noise of any sort. About 2 weeks ago was the first that I've learned of any type of noise complaint that was coming out of Crown Pizza. And as soon as I learned of it, I made some changes. I had a couple of complaints. One was that we were parking on the handicap parking spot. I have put a cone there that no one will park there, and all of the drivers that comes in to pick up the food, they're told they cannot park there. Number two was the car noise and also the delivery truck. The delivery truck from George's Bakery, for nearly a week that I've been aware of that. I've contacted George, which is the owner. I haven't had too much luck pinning him down, but with his employees, I alert them that I no longer want delivery per night or any time that would disturb anyone in the community. I'm not sure if that has been heard all the way through as yet, but I can promise you that that will happen. And also, I heard that there were loud music, by drivers or other people that are in the vicinity of 2 Elm Street in the parking lot. I have told the manager, my brother, that no one is to have music there. He assured me that he will go out there and make sure that whomever comes, that there is no noise or any type of music coming out of their vehicles. I am willing to address many other concerns that you guys have, and I want you guys to know that I want to be a good business person, and I don't want you guys to suffer because Crown Pizza is there. We've been there since 2015, and we've gotten along, and we're able to get along with one another. I want to make sure that that's available. I also understood that there was some argument or disagreement between the manager and a neighbor. That should never happen. And I have told my brother that that shouldn't happen, and I have actually retrained them in how to treat customers. I have also spoken, I'm sorry, I forget the name of a neighbor. I don't know if it's you, Miss Duffy, that I've been texting back and forth, that we have a bunch of texts coming back and forth, trying to address all of these issues. They won't happen overnight, but I can promise you that every single issue that I've heard, I am addressing it seriously, and I am taking care of them as we speak. There shouldn't be anything. I believe that, I don't know if it's you, Miss Duffy, you have my cell number. I've told you I'm more than willing to sit with you or any member of the community to make sure that, we're there, but we're not bothering anyone. Again, I like I said, since 2015 that we opened, this is the first complaint that I'm aware of, that anybody has told me that there is noise and other things that it is going on there. I can promise you that I will handle it, and it won't be a nuisance to the community. I wish we could have spoken face to face. I think that would be a better way for you to see and understand that what I tell you is just not words, but I mean every single word that I say. Other than that, for the licensing, I apologize. It is something that I oversaw. I forgot to renew my corporation. It does happen. It shouldn't have happened, but it does happen. And as soon as I learned of it, I called up the state, paid up the fee, and brought it up to date. Other than that, I will take any questions from anyone, if possible.
Okay, Mr. De Silva, you're all completed with your time?
Yes.
Okay, the way I have the guidelines, Ms. Duffy, you will have the floor now at this time, the Zoom meeting. Steve, can you put Ms. Duffy back on? Ms. Duffy, if you could turn your mic on.
Hello. Mr. Casey, in regards to the noise complaints, a video was sent to you last Friday night, as well as personally reviewed by the mayor's office that his assistant Kate showed him, where there were 27 cars in that parking lot at 1:30 in the morning. 27 cars. And it was also sent to Town Council Siasi. It was sent to the mayor, and it was sent to the licensing board, I believe. 27 cars, okay? Now, for Vargas, you know, if this is the first time he's hearing of complaints where you yourself just said there was over 31 and none of them being noise issues, it's mind-blowing, only because how do you think that 27 cars between the hours of 1 and 1:30 in the morning isn't pertaining to noise issues? If they were quiet out there, then they wouldn't have woken the neighborhood up. And I really hope that the other neighbors that are on this Zoom meeting identify themselves as well. 27 cars at 1:30 in the morning. Okay, now when your manager or your employee threatens to burn down the house of one of our neighbors, how do you think the other neighbors are going to want to make a complaint? They're not making complaints because they're fearful. Burning down somebody's home as a threat because you call the police at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning due to noise issues is shameful. Shameful. Now, I'm sure when this license was given out, it was given out with the premise that Mr. De Silveira had 1 or 2 pizza delivery employees that he had control of, but Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, all of these businesses did not exist. With this business being allowed to be open till 4 a.m. means that every person in the town of Holbrook, Randolph, Quincy, Weymouth, as well as Braintree, can in essence order 25 orders at one time. And all of these cars are descending on the parking lot. Whether Mr. De Silveira recognizes it or not, it's a nuisance. 27 cars alone. Mr. Casey, I'm very shocked right now that you're refusing to say that you received video of these 27 cars and complaints in regards to the vendors, when Vargas told our neighbor that the town forced him to have vendor deliveries between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Mr. De Silveira said that he was shocked by that himself, but he was forced to do that, as well as forced to give his vendors the keys and codes to his business, saying once again that the board has allowed and made him do that. And it's in writing from Vargas to our neighbor saying that the board forced him to do that and forces his vendors to be there between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So now, if like what occurred last weekend at 4:45, when a vendor company came on Saturday and made a delivery, his business closed at 4 a.m. That means at 4:45, when the business or vendor delivery company dropped off, that food sat in that vestibule for almost 13 hours before an employee came to put that food away. And how is that not a Board of Health issue? I'm getting extremely angry right now, and it's not at Vargas, because Vargas, you know, if he's doing the right thing and he wants to bring it, you know, and bring his business, then go for it. I respect him immensely. But it is appalling to me to just hear out of the mouth of Town Clerk Casey that he does not know about a video from just this past Friday with 27 cars is nothing short of deplorable.
Okay, Ms. Duffy, I want to tell you, and I'll tell everybody who's listening to this this meeting, I do not have a video that was sent to me.
You're a liar.
don't you call me a liar.
I just
Yeah,
did
I
because I
have-
personally sent it to you. So
Well, it's not, it is,
there,
Miss
don't
Miss
you
Duffy,
dare lie. You're a
Duffy.
liar. Shall I
Miss Duffy.
show you the link? Because you're a liar.
I have a photo that was delivered on.
You also have a video.
I have a photo
The
delivered.
mayor's office saw the video. So do not lie.
Miss Duffy, do not call me a liar and or I'll-
Well, if you're
Miss
lying, then that
Duffy.
makes you a liar.
Stephen, disconnect her from the meeting. I am not
Yeah,
gonna,
oh,
I am not
bye.
being caused a liar.
You are a liar. You absolutely.
Okay, Steve, turn me on this as the meeting.
You have
Can
to
you
go
hear
on
me?
and.
Steve, am I on?
You're on, Jim.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for that uprising there because I'm going to show everyone here, I do not have a video on my, I'm looking at my screen right now, my email account. All I have is an email that was sent to me at 5:46 Saturday morning. I was up at 5:46, by the way, on Saturday morning, and I did get that email, but I did not reply to it because I don't respond to that early in the morning. But I do not have a video. I've never saw a video. And for someone to call any person a liar without being in front of them face to face, I lose every respect I have for the person. So we're going to move on. The outline of the meeting at this point in time is, and is there any elected official present? I see, let me see here, participants.
I'm shaking
Councilor
right now.
Sasha, would you like to speak?
He saw the video.
Stephen, can you put Councilor Sasha on?
Thank you, members of the commission. I really wasn't intending on speaking today. I mean, the licensing issues go outside of the council's purview. My only involvement in this is that if there are noise complaints, that is something the council can address. It's been done with other restaurants in the past, another pizza place, where it was referred to committee to review so that neighbors and business owners could sit down together and see if there is a workable solution. You know, as far as the licensing issues, I would leave it to the commission and their expertise to figure that out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there seems to be one other person who's interested, has a raised hand. Mary Ellen, Stephen, you want to connect her? Miss Mary Ellen, could you please unmute yourself?
Let's see.
Okay.
Hi,
Mary,
can you hear me?
yes, could you please identify yourself with your full name, please?
Hi, my name is Mary Ellen Fleming.
Okay, hi, welcome.
Thank you. I just find this whole thing mind-boggling that restaurants are being shuttered left and right. Now we can't go out past 10 o'clock at night, and this establishment can be open till 4 a.m. I just find this very troubling, and there's something wrong with this picture. And also, just to back up for a minute or so, you read, you know, a whole list of the police complaints, the police issue, but I can assure you, as Kim said, that not all people are going to call and complain because they're afraid of retribution. I don't know how you can have a parking lot full of cars in the middle of the night and there's just nothing wrong with that. I really hope the the board does something. I mean, every other restaurant now needs to be closed at 10 o'clock. I mean, it used to be 11. Yeah, now it's 10. I just find this absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
Okay, Mary Ellen, let me explain the closure of restaurants at 10 o'clock. Under the governor's rule number 53,
Right,
restaurants,
I'm aware.
let me explain, please, let me explain to you. Under governor's order number 53, restaurants will stop serving food and alcohol beverages at 9:30. They all have to be consumed and the patrons have to be off the premises by 10 a.m. Okay, let me please finish.
All right.
At 10 o'clock, when all the patrons are gone, the restaurants are able to continue to operate until the closure of their existing licenses. Some of these are up to 12, 1 o'clock in the evening. So that has not changed. They only can operate for curbside or takeout orders. That's to ensure that, to help the restaurant industry to try to meet some of the fixed costs they have during this pandemic hour. So all restaurants still have the opportunity to operate at 10 o'clock. Now let's get back to Crown Pizza in their request back in June of 2016. It took 6 months before the board made a decision and a vote to approve this license. We were, as you say, we were concerned with the noise issues and what would be going on during that time frame. During their initial license application back in 2015, the establishment there, I guess it was Murray Deli, operated in a very efficient way. And when Mr. De Silva came forward in June of 2016, we did a police incident report then, and there were no complaints again for that business during that first year of operation. When I talk about the 31 police incidents report, these incidents reports can happen anywhere, on any street, at any time, for any business. There are accidents, they're disabled motor vehicles, there are ambulance calls, there are counterfeiting.
That's not what we're talking about.
I know, but you did mention about the number of police incident report. You gotta look into the police incident report. It gets filed under that address because that's where the police officer responded to when the call came in. So essentially it's assigned to that business. It could be the church next door. And again, when they applied for this extension from till 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a petition signed by residents. There were 225 signatures on that request that they be granted extended hours. When that came into my office, I had every single signature identified. We rejected those ones that were not from Braintree. And then we made sure the ones that were the all remaining signatures were actually people who have been identified as living in Braintree. There were 105 individuals who signed that petition to allow them to operate during those hours. There were a number of residents who lived right on Elm Street that had given their okay for the business to operate. In addition, it was noted in one of the emails that I was sent by Ms. Duffy or Ms. Lapham, was that the church was never notified of this. There is a letter contained in those meeting documents that we got a favorable recommendation from the church saying that they were in favor of that business to operate during those hours. Any business within the community who wanted to do all of these pizza shops, as Ms. Duffy cited, would be allowed to operate extended hours if they submitted an application. We had it reviewed, and the neighbors did not complain about it at the time the hearing was initiated. So no one came forward. In fact, we only heard favorable comments about extending those hours. And as they said, there could be 1 million people coming into this business for food services. I've done some research in talking to people. Why would you go to a business and ask for a meal at 2 o'clock in the morning? God, I don't know why, but there are some people out there. You know who the people who responded back to me? and commented, they were first responders. These are the people who work in the hospitals. They work the late shift. And so they don't have the convenience of someone who works either the first or second shift to go out to a restaurant to get a lunch or dinner for themselves. These are the people who work overnight. Same in first responders, fire, police departments, ambulance drivers who tend to come in to get this meal because they're kind of tired of taking a brown bag to work every day. And sometimes it's good to have another option to have a meal when it's really your midday, but while everybody else is asleep, they're working. So there is a niche for that type of business. Mr. De Silva did find that niche. We want to make sure that he operates within the framework of the licenses. And if there are noise agreements, I ask that everybody who has seen one to send it, because we will respond as I did respond with that. With this complaint here, it was responded in a very timely manner, and this board takes every complaint serious. We only ask that you identify yourself so we make sure that you'll be able to stand up for your complaint, because again, we want to ensure that the complaint is fair, and you should be reporting it to your police department, because when it gets reported to the police department, the dispatch logs it in. So there's a permanent footprint of the complaint coming through, and they will get eventually, if it has a history of noise complaints, we can determine that. We can determine at the exact time when these complaints happened. And that's what I've done here. During the hours here, the majority of the complaints occurred from 10 o'clock in the morning to about 2100, 8 p.m. That's when we see the major complaints. But they're not major complaints, that incidences that the police had to respond. And these responses were not noise related, other than the two that we received on October 12th. Now, this recent one on Saturday, a complaint was not filed with the police department. So it's not going to get recorded. So other than receiving that picture of the truck that is outside behind the business there, that's the only evidence that we had of a vehicle outside of the business there. Mr. Vargas, Mr. De Silva has addressed that issue. He said he's replacing that. I guess it was a bakery delivery truck. It was very difficult to read the writing on the back of the truck from the photo. But again, there's some evidence there to say that there was something out there. Ms. McGrath, do we have any information in our bylaws regular to deliveries of goods to businesses within the community?
Mr. Casey, if I may ask first, is there has been comment made that the board has required that this establishment receive deliveries between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. I have no knowledge whatsoever of this board taking any action to require that. So I'm a little confused as to where that information is coming from, because there's no recollection on my part that ever happened. And then secondly, I ask, what types of deliveries is Mr. Vargas receiving at those hours of the morning? Obviously, a bread delivery is one of them, but Mr. Vargas might be able to speak to more what he's receiving.
If I may, that's the only issue, is just the bread. And the reason why, one of the things that I learned on one of the occasions, the reason why they deliver at that time in the morning is because they have Christine as one of the delivery. They wanted to keep it and do me and Christine at the same time. It's from George's Bakery out of Medford.
Okay.
That's what I learned, the reason why they want to do that. But I've already called them and told them I don't want delivery at that time. It's a nuisance. Neighbors are complaining. I don't want it anymore.
Okay, so you're receiving the delivery at that hour because it's a convenience for that operator to be able to drop off the multiple locations. But
Correct.
Never has it been, it's not my impression at all, because I've been a board member since 2008, that there was ever a specific restriction placed on your business that you receive food deliveries between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning.
No, there's no specific restriction between 5 and 11, 5 in the morning, but there is a restriction on the agreement that I had with the board that we had to do delivery not in the daytime because Washington Street, it's so busy. They didn't want the delivery truck stopping there, even though I have a huge parking lot, but that is part of the agreement that we did have with the board. I think it's because the overlay district, they said that Washington Street, it's so busy. It is written down, and I can find it and bring it, or probably send it to you.
That could be a planning board requirement. but-
Planning board,
that
yes.
that was not part of the Board of License Commissioners.
So, no, not the licensing. It was the planning board that's the agreement with the planning board that we could not deliver in the daytime because Washington Street is too busy.
Okay, but why can't you
so-
receive deliveries in your own parking lot?
That is where we did it, but they thought that the trucks might stop on Washington, so they thought it was better to have that agreement in, so we don't have delivery during the daytime, even though they knew that the delivery was, we have a huge parking lot to do that.
Well,
That's
that's
what,
an operational matter between you and the company that you work with to get the product, to make sure they're delivering it in a location that you deem acceptable.
correct. So they've never delivered on Washington Street.
Right.
This was prior to us opening in 2015. The planning board gave me a bunch of stuff that we cannot do and things that we can do. That was one of the agreement that we could not have delivery, that we shouldn't have delivery during the day, that it should be during nights like everybody else does. And
Well,
also,
let's rephrase that. Most people aren't having deliveries in the middle of the night between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. because they're not opened. So most establishments are having deliveries in the daytime. Again, the receipt of deliveries and making sure that they're being done in your parking lot as opposed to Washington Street is an operational matter that you need to address with the delivery companies. So I appreciate that you want to speak with a bakery company who is the vendor that you said is delivering between 3 and 5 in the morning, I guess, and have them alter their times. That's appreciative. I'm sure it'll be appreciative to the neighbors as well. So,
absolutely.
yeah, but that should be
and I-
done, and you should be instructing them that those deliveries should be made in the parking lot, not on Washington Street, because it is a major thoroughfare.
Correct. That is correct. And they do deliver only in the parking lot. It's just the odd hours. And I have told them to stop. So all my deliveries that I have, all the vendors actually have a key and alarm codes to the restaurant that's specific to them that they actually deliver. They put all the stuff that goes in the freezer, the stuff that goes into the refrigerator, that goes into the refrigerator. And then of course the bread, they just put it on the counter until we get there to use.
Okay. Okay, so Jim, and to answer your question, I'm gonna ask Russ to speak to the zoning bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Russ?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the town of Braintree, under Article 11 of its zoning bylaws, is entitled Environmental Performance Standards. It talks about emissions and noise and other such matters there. Specific to the issue at hand there, under Section 135-1104, number 5, only restricts the delivery of goods and materials at certain hours if the resulting delivery will generate what they term a noisy condition, or one that is in excess of the decibel allowance imposed by the same article. So, for instance, basically, businesses are allowed to receive deliveries round the clock, should they so elect to, providing again that the method that these deliveries occur in does not violate further town bylaws. I'll give you an example. So for instance, acceptable decibel readings for any activity, I shouldn't just say deliveries, for any activity during the hours between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. is 60 decibels, beyond which they feel as though that would be an unacceptable noise emission for any activity, including deliveries. Just to give you not an example, but just to quantify what 60 decibels is, most busy thoroughfares, much the same as what you live off of Quincy Avenue, okay, with the tractor trailers going up and down, do not generate 60 decibels. They generally run in the low 40 decibel rate. So you can imagine the noise that would have to be generated by a delivery of a material to this particular site here to be in violation of the town ordinances, okay? So once again, those limitations, the noise limitations exist between 8 PM and 7 AM. The town has taken certain steps with specific vendors to ensure compliance, such as the delivery of or removal of dumpsters. That, you know, has been specifically through the town council limited to, once again, between the hours of 7 AM and 8 PM. And we do get occasional noise complaints, which we follow up with, that is to say, from the Department of Inspections, and advise vendors that if we get further complaints relative to their delivery schedule, that we will be finding both the business and them, as we're allowed to do. But in answer to the question at hand there, I would suggest that it would be unlikely in the extreme that a conventional delivery would be in violation of the bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the insight. Okay, with that, as I stated in the guidelines, we had members of the general public speak. I haven't heard, Deborah, have we received any emails?
No.
We have not received no emails for questions asked. So with that, does the license members have any other comments they would like to make? Okay, so with that, we
Excuse me,
would,
Jim.
yes,
Jim,
Ms.
I
McCracken.
think Russ wanted to speak.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. Were you looking for a motion?
Not right this point. I just want to find out, is there any more comments from members?
I would just say this, that I know it's been alluded to that a video somewhere exists relative to a collection of vehicles in the parking lot at a specific time, what have you there. That in of itself, once again, does not constitute a violation of the noise ordinances under the town bylaws, you know, on the surface.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully I'll get a copy of the email, the video, so we can take a look at it. But at this time, I have not received the email, and that cannot be considered as part of this hearing at this point in time. So the hearing, we have 2 points before us. The first one is whether Crown Pizza was operating illegally. They do remain in a legal status of not having their proper documentation with the Secretary of State's office. And as Mr. De Silvia had provided us on this Monday, this past Monday, we have all of that certificates in place and all the document to say that he's in good standing with the state at this point in time. And I state that this was from the ABCC, that they informed us that this is a common occurrence. It happens every year, and it's something that is easily corrected. And this was corrected very easily by the business owner at this point in time. He apologized for his mistake, that he forgot to do it, and I can see it. I see it a number of times here with our business certificates of those businesses that have required one. To combat that, I send them out a reminder letter every 4 years to give them that little tickle, because I know you can be forgetful. And again, this is a case that has occurred, and I don't think there is any violation relative to operating illegally without the necessary documentation. And the second is on the noise complaint. We can take a motion on that if there was enough evidence to support of the noise complaint that was alleged on October 12th in 2 cases. If someone wants to make a motion, whether that noise complaint was beyond the acceptable standards as written in our general bylaws, would be forthcoming, should be forthcoming.
Mr. Chairman, can I just respond to that just as a comment?
Sure, Chief.
Just we have really one noise complaint. There was 2 within a half hour of each other. When the officers responded, they found, no vehicles in the lot. So I guess if there's people listening, I would encourage them to call us. I don't understand what the fear of notifying us of an issue. would be. But we haven't had any in the history of this. You I guess maybe misstated when you said there were 31 complaints for this. There's 31 various incidents. I guess maybe the misunderstanding on the person who called. There's 31 incidents, but it's as you stated, it's the address is really the indicator for us. So the actual location, the actual business has very few incidents, and there's 2 noise complaints that were called in October, and that's it. There was nothing else prior to that. So if we get notified, we'll go up there. And just for some clarification with Miss Duffy, she left me a very accusatory email this morning about her phone call last night to the police station. And I just don't have a lot of credibility on her complaint based on what she wrote to me in an email and then my listening to the phone call last night. She hung up on dispatch. She was very rude and really didn't answer any of the questions that we needed and then hung up on her. So she obviously is very emotional about this, but as far as I can tell, we can't determine that there's an issue there at this time. So.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for the clarification. I did meant to state incidences that have, because
Right.
everything is classified as an incident type.
Correct.
And that's what, instead of an event or a complaint, it should have been incident type. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Forsberg.
yes, to the first issue, the illegality of the operation of the business. I mean, clearly there was a period of time under which Mr. Vargas did not have the required, I'm not sure, documentation. However, the remedy that this board would prescribe to him in assigning guilt or blame or what have you would be to bring it up to the date, which he's already done. So I mean, I don't want to seem contrarian, but while yeah, there was a period of time in which he was in the rears or whatever, however want to term it. There's no violation as of this hearing. So I would make a motion that there's no basis for which to reach a conclusion that in fact he was operating in violation.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor by roll call, please.
Russ Forsberg, aye.
Mary Beth McGrath, aye.
Mark Dubois, aye.
And James Casey, aye. Relative to the noise complaint,
The noise complaint, once again, in reiterating what Chief Du Bois has said, we don't have anything of substance to substantiate the claim that there has been noise complaints in the past. And in looking at the standard under which we could find fault with any business, I don't believe that that has ever occurred. So I will make a motion that there is no validity to the complaint relative to noise being generated by this business.
Second.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none by roll call.
Russ Forsberg, aye.
Mary Beth McGrath, aye.
Mark Dubois, aye.
And James Casey, aye. Okay, that concludes this hearing. I just want to remind Mr. De Silvia that, we did have some 2 noise complaints. The neighbors are conscious of what's going on at your business. Please work better to build a more positive relationship with your neighbors. Hear them out, talk to them, interact with them, to hopefully that we can resolve any differences between your establishment in the neighborhood, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, our next meeting is scheduled for December 8th. Okay, on December 8th, I just want to remind you all that that's the day we're going to be doing a lot of renewal of our liquor, common vicular licenses and auto dealership licenses. So we could be a little time consuming completing those tasks. All right, so with that, a motion to adjourn would be in order on a roll call.
Russ Forsberg, aye.
Mary Beth McGrath, aye.
And James Casey, aye. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's participation. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Jim, you too.